New fears in Afghanistan is becoming a breeding ground for terror organizations as an ISIS affiliate claims responsibility for the deadly suicide attack outside the gates of Kabul airport. So what exactly is ISIS-K and how far is its reach? Here to discuss, military expert Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, former Deputy Commanding General in Afghanistan Anthony Tata, and former intelligence officer and Iraq War veteran Don Bramer. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for your service to this country. Lieutenant Davis, I'll start with you. Who exactly is ISIS-K? What do we know about them at this point?
ISIS-K is an offshoot of the ISIS that we spent so much time and energy on in Iraq and Syria during the Trump administration primarily, and they are basically drawn from rejects of the Taliban in Afghanistan and Pakistan. And what we found is that they're the most violent members that were too violent for the regular Taliban, and they have got an offshoot. So they want even worse than what the Taliban does. And the issue is there's about 1 to 2,000, and by comparison, there's about somewhere around 100,000 Taliban at the moment. So they are violent and they're vicious, but I don't think that they're as big of a threat as a lot of people think, because they're restricted to Afghanistan. So I don't think they're as big of a threat to the United States as some people say.
Okay, well, General Tata, I'll go to you because I'm curious the relationship in Afghanistan between groups like ISIS-K, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and the Haqqani network.
Yeah, so Jillian, good to be with you. Al-Qaeda is the Arabic fighters that come over from the Middle East, and ISIS-K, as you just heard, is they're a splinter group of the Taliban, but they're more fundamentalist, and they disagree with the Taliban's drive toward just political control in Afghanistan, and they want to inflict more violence, as we saw yesterday, unfortunately. And then, of course, the Taliban has always been all about the political leadership and control in Afghanistan. And ISIS-K and the Taliban are at odds with one another, but I wouldn't make too much of that, because the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so to presume that the Taliban and the ISIS-K are going to fight one another with Americans withdrawing from Afghanistan, I think it's a bad assumption the president has made.
Okay, interesting. Don, now that terrorists are able to operate freely, for all intents and purposes, in Afghanistan, what do you see as the future of the region, and what does that mean for other nearby countries and the rest of the world? Don, can you hear me? All right, it seems like we've lost Don for a second. We're going to try and get him back, but Lieutenant Colonel Davis, I'll go to you with that question. Now that they can operate freely, what does this mean for the region, for other countries that are nearby and the rest of the world?
Yeah, well, for the most part, that's one of the things that's distinguished the Taliban from any of these other groups, is that they're a nationalist group. They're not like a classic terrorist organization that we think of, like Al-Qaeda, that has international designs. It wants to come to the United States and attack us. In fact, they have been very clear from day one. They don't want to attack the United States. They would not. They would be happy to not fight the U.S., and that's one of the reasons why they're being relatively supportive and helpful of us getting out, because they want us out so that they can just run their country. That's what they have, and so they don't have any designs even on the neighboring countries. So I think that we're going to find that things are not as bad as what some people are afraid they might be.
Okay, Don, I understand that we've been able to get your audio back. I'm not sure if you heard that question that I just posed, but I said, you know, with the idea that you have all of these groups that can now essentially operate freely in Afghanistan when it comes to terrorism, what does this mean for the rest of the world, and particularly us?
Well, I'm glad to be back. Since 1977, Afghanistan has been basically a breeding ground for terror. We have Al-Qaeda, we have ISIS-K, and we have the Taliban, with reportedly right now, anywhere from 8,000 to 10,000 jihadists on the ground at any given time. Now they've all come together. While yes, they are competing for space, if you will, against each other, they are still a threat, and you have extremists from all across different branches of these fundamental groups that, once they come together, then I think the opportunity for them to become an even bigger threat than we saw 20 years ago is there.
General Tata, the president said that the military said Bagram Air Base was not much of an asset. There have been a lot of questions on the decision to leave that air base. Do you think this proves to be a fatal flaw in everything that we've seen happen?
Yes, Joanne, it's the fatal flaw in this whole operation, among many, quite frankly. But I served 13 months at Bagram. It has 2 runways. It has, you can see for miles from the guard towers. It has Russian minefields around it. There's one majorly fortified point of entry, and it's impenetrable to the types of attacks that happened at the Kabul airport the other day. Kabul, conversely, is like Somalia. It's surrounded by tenements and apartments, and you can get up very close, and there's no standoff. And giving up that vital piece of terrain, and as the after-action reviews are conducted, will prove to be the fatal flaw in this operation.
Okay. And Don, we've just got about 15 seconds left. I want to get one more question in with you real quick. This over-the-horizon capabilities that you hear a lot about, do you think that that's going to be possible without a footprint on the ground there?
One of the things you have to understand is those capabilities are only valuable to us if the surrounding countries will allow us to penetrate their airspace. Without that authority, then we must use our carriers in the Persian Gulf. So it does make it more complicated. I certainly think the Taliban are going to be more restraining on this administration than we expect. And moving forward, there's a lot that remains unseen.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, General Anthony Tata, and former intelligence officer Don Bramer. Thank you all and for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Of course.